Ever wondered what it would be like if all of your favorite 80s hair metal singers got together, turned Japanese, and started fighting for the fate of the world in beautiful pastel spandex? What do you mean no? Why are you here? My dude neutrals, I am talking about Saint Seiya, the original Saint Seiya, the 1986 fantastic time machine of an anime, Saint Seiya, Knights of the Zodiac. It's at least probable that you've heard of this manga adaptation. Saint Seiya is a true classic and beloved franchise in Japan, however, it never got the same treatment here in the West, especially not in America. Probably because it was too damn cool and absurd. You got 4 beautiful boys using their inner energy left over from the Big Bang to defend the world against evil reincarnated Greek gods alongside the benevolent lady of law and justice, Athena. Yeah, that's some anime plot right there. But what it doesn't reveal is the incredible breakneck, no nonsense, no filler, knockdown, drag-out brawl that is the original run of this anime. A shonen which alongside Dragon Ball and Fist of the North Star helped form the foundation of our understanding of that genre.
I shouldn't look, but I am.
In the seminal year of 1986, the year anime would change forever. This is Saint Seiya. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Shonen, an event celebrating your favorites and our favorites in the most popular genre of anime, Shonen. We have a lineup of greats coming your way, including Hunter x Hunter, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Yu Yu Hakusho, and many more, so hit that bell. Hit it. We'll do it together. A 1, a 2. You know how to start off a shonen right? Skip the nonsense and go right into a tournament arc. I caught Saint Seiya for the first time in 2003 on Cartoon Network and hated it. And so did everyone else, which is why it got canceled after 32 episodes. Now the reason for this is Deke Productions. And that'll happen a lot, mon frere, as Deke tended to take things that were great like lesbian love between 2 Sailor Scouts and turn it into a friendly companionship between cousins. Ah, censorship. Don't you just fucking love that shit? Saint Seiya got the same treatment.
Couldn't get away.
Your stupid trick doesn't scare me.
I think I made my point.
It wasn't until I picked up Jump Force for the PS4 that I was reminded of this show and went back to watch it in its Japanese uncut glory. And oh my god, is it uncut and glorious. I literally had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I could not have been happier. First, let's get into the look. At this point, Saint Seiya is 33 years old and it shows, but that's not a bad thing. It's choppy. Even the still frames wiggle a bit, but its character and story are so gripping, its color palette is so bombastic, its musical score is so classic. It all just blends itself into a quintessential anime experience you need every once in a while to cleanse yourself of that pixel-perfect digital wonder we're oversaturated with now. Seiya is a teenage boy who was orphaned as a child and then taken from his orphanage and sister at a young age by a rich old dude named Mitsumasa Kido. This old guy groomed Seiya to be a warrior. He and a group of other young boys like him trained in Kido's mansion until they were old enough to be shipped out to various locales around the world to be fully honed into saints. Saints are essentially the Greek pantheon's version of Power Rangers, but just like real life, not everybody gets to be a Power Ranger. The beauty of this backstory is that it's given to you piecemeal, as the show opens up with Seiya's last fight before acquiring the legendary Pegasus cloth, aka his Power Ranger suit. He had been shipped to the Sanctuary of Saints in Athens, and now that he achieved his goal, it's back to Japan and right into a fighting tournament. A fighting tournament against the other boys he trained with back in Kido's mansion. But Kido is dead now, and things are being controlled by his granddaughter, Saori Kido. a young lady most of these boys aren't particularly fond of, especially not Seiya, who was promised to be reunited with his sister after obtaining his cloth, but with Mitsumasa dead, Saori has no idea where Seiya's sister is. However, and this is genius, she promises him that if he wins her martial arts tournament, the Galaxian Wars, she'll use all of her unlimited resources to find his sister once and for all. Clear motive, clear plot, instant action. The Galaxian Wars allows the show to introduce you to its main characters and exactly what to expect from its fights. Pure brutality. And sexy boys being sexy doing the thing. This honestly came as a shock. Like I said, I had watched some of this before, but the amount of content that Deke removed from the show left me unprepared for the copious amount of violence I was about to witness. While relatively tasteful in comparison to Fists of the North Star or Berserk, I was shocked on more than one occasion. Shonen content is directed specifically towards young men aged 12 to 18, so that's more or less what I was expecting from this show. I find Dragon Ball is the perfect example of pure shonen. It's a little crude, a little violent, but mostly innocent fun. In Saint Seiya, people just straight up die a lot, often after being brutally beaten. After the Galaxian Wars, there's a ton of characters that never show up again, and it took me a minute to realize it was because they friggin' died. When Seiya fought the Bear Saint, he killed him. Same with Cygnus and the Hydra Saint. Also, can we take a look at Cygnus real quick? He's basically Gunnar Nelson with a friggin' duck on his head. It's amazing. I love this show. Seiya even kills the Dragon Saint Shiryu in their match, only to revive him by re-punching him in the heart to get it started again. By the end of the Galaxian tournament, we're left with 4 saints. Pegasus Seiya and his Meteor Punch, Cygnus Hyoga who does ice stuff, Dragon Shiryu with his Dragon Fist, and Andromeda Shun with his beautiful Nebula Chain. I also want to highlight quickly that Saint Seiya is directly credited for the creation of yaoi, or boys love, which unlike a lot of gay media is generally created for women by women. And the main reason Saint Seiya made this come about is because of our beautiful boy Shun. The flowing green hair, the pastel green spandex, and pink armor coupled with his effeminate, gentle personality riled up a lot of fans into shipping these boys together. And let's be real, Saint Seiya is queer as hell, and that's part of its appeal. To me, anime has always been punk rock cartoons, and being glamorously queer and shining as bright as boys weighing in space is punk as fuck. Now look, I don't want to spoil too much, but in a time before the Super Saiyan, Saint Seiya was doing it right. There is no filler. It's constant action. The plot begins to twist and turn all over the place after the Galaxian Wars tournament. There's mysticism, kung fu, and these boys just love each other so much. There's even a point where Dragon Shiryu rips his own eyes out in order to save his friends. It gets way more real than you would expect, and I don't want to give away too much about the Golden Sagittarius cloth, the prize for the Galaxian Wars that ends up igniting basically a full-on race war, but it was 100% the Super Saiyan before the Super Saiyan. There's a lot to unpack with this show, and I don't want to unpack it all with our first time covering it, but what I do want to say is that if you're going to take my advice and get into Saint Seiya, cause it's the bomb, I recommend starting with the original, which is only streaming on Netflix right now. And unfortunately, it's only streaming the first 41 out of 114 episodes. But it is in beautiful 1080p and it looks crisp and perfect. Also, side note, the dub is horrible, so avoid that. You can, however, make a Japanese Netflix account and watch the entire series in all its glory, but that's a pain. It's gonna cost you another subscription. Also, Netflix, give us money. I'm tired of pimping you for free. You're not that great. Now, I'm not saying to find other ways to watch the entire series, but I mean, you can. I won't stop you, at least not until Netflix pays up. Anyway, later series of the show, not the Hades OVAs, which I hear are very good, can be found on Crunchyroll and are, in my opinion, a significant drop in quality and animation, which is impressive considering the original had some moments in it that are laughably bad, but you know, in a good way. And lastly, the Netflix Saint Seiya remake is a blasphemous atrocity CGI Americanized homunculus that should be killed with fire. Gets a big yikes out of 10. The CG animation is actually pretty impressive and the music is really good, but they fudged it all up. They took my beautiful Shunchan and made him a girl. Now, I am all for more women in shonen, more women protagonists who fight not only with the boys, but better than the boys, but not at the cost of queer erasure. Come on. The queer glam-a-lam, it was the best part. Don't take my boys from me. But this brings me to possibly the most interesting aspect of our topic. 1986 was the year we were gifted with 3 greats, Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, and Saint Seiya. 2 of which are full of gratuitous violence, but all 3 are aimed at young men. While I would say anime is still violent, especially compared to American cartoons, the general level of graphic visuals has died down significantly since the 80s when we got movies like Wicked City and Akira. This should lead to the simple question, why? Obviously, American entertainment has always been on the high end of censorship thanks to our cultural romance with Abrahamic religion. We've had issues with all sorts of media being too much for our youth, but Japan might as well be another planet when we're talking about cultural norms. Shin-chan, for example, is one of, if not the most popular children's shows in Japan, and half the time, he's looking up skirties. So why the shift from the gratuitous violence of the late 80s? Well, I think I found the answer. Otaku panic. In 88 and 89, the last 2 years Saint Seiya ran on network television, Tokyo was gripped with fear due to a man named Tsutomu Miyazaki, a very, very disturbed individual whose crimes are so heinous I actually cannot speak about them on this platform. However, I did send his case to the Morbid True Crime podcast, so hopefully they'll cover him for me. You should check them out. After he was caught in 1989, the police raided his house and found an incredible abundance of manga and anime. He was also known to enjoy making his own comics and drawing in his spare time and was an avid horror fan. At the time, otaku were already misunderstood. The word itself means someone who is so obsessed with pop culture that it's a detriment to their social skills. The latter half of that definition being one of the most important aspects of your place in Japanese society. Miyazaki was labeled the otaku murderer, and his actions were blamed on his quote-unquote retreating into a world of fantasy and manga. If you choose to look him up, be warned his actions were extremely disturbing. He's the reason your mom always knew that those foreign cartoons were rotting your brain. Why can't you just watch Oprah or The Voice? The answer is because violence is real, unfortunately. The otaku murderer was a bad man. But World War I and II were also bad, and the Civil War, or literally any large-scale all-out conflict that has been a rotting cancer on human history. Violence has been a part of us since we were chimps and we found out we could throw our poo at another chimp. This is what I mean when I say that violence is real. So when a show like Saint Seiya doesn't hold back from the gore, is it glorifying it, or is it merely a flamboyant expression of something that is part of being human? So here is the question that I ask you, as anime fans and most likely pop culture fans as a whole, how much is too much? I grew up watching things I shouldn't have according to the rules that were set for me. Did it mess me up? I don't know. So where's the line? Is it even possible for media to warp somebody, or does someone have to be warped beforehand? Are violent cartoons a cause, or are they a convenient excuse? You tell me. Saint Seiya is a violent show, but that's not all it is. I deliberately didn't mention that it focuses heavily on the relationships between young men, compassion, sacrifice, hope for the future, and doing what needs to be done. There's a lot of ways to spin something. By looking at our back catalog, you may think we're all about brutality, but we believe very deeply in being gentle. We just love absurdity. So here's the whole picture. There's a moment between Seiya and his lifelong friend from his orphanage Miho, in which she asks Seiya to stay with her instead of going off to fight. He explains that he wants to, but also that he has things that he has to do first. Things that only he can do. Duty and responsibility are life lessons that we all face at some point. The reality of doing what needs to be done before settling in for that long-lasting peace is something important that should be conveyed to everyone. While watching such a bombastic show, I was certainly entertained by the flamboyance and knockout brawls. However, it was ultimately this moment that stuck with me when it was all over. Spin things however you like, but this moment is the true meaning of Saint Seiya. The truth behind why violence is sometimes unavoidable. It's why violence was necessary in Saint Seiya. Not because blood makes for a good show, but because blood with purpose behind it is life. It's that blood that burns with compassion for our friends and family, which drives people to the point of sacrificing it so they may one day settle down for that peace we all talk about in our quiet moments.
I bet you didn't see that coming. After all that talk about wham blam fighty jams, pulled a little bit of smarty boy stuff out of my butt. Next week, we are going to be doing Full Metal Alchemist with Grant, the story you never knew. It's going to be super awesome, but I would love to hear your answers to my questions. And if you want to send them to me personally, consider donating to our Patreon. All it costs is $1. You get right into the private Discord. And I'm there. I'm on beck and call. Just ask Cole. He asks how I'm doing every day. And with that, just like normal, we are going to shout out our lucky patron of the week, Cameron Thomas. Cameron, thank you so much for your continued support. We really appreciate you being here, helping the channel do what it does, so we can make videos on things that aren't trending like Saint Seiya. So anyway, one more time, I am Mike, this is Bonsai Pop. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you check out our social media. We got Twitter, we got Instagram. We don't really mess around with Facebook because Facebook kind of sucks. And with that, I'm out. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Next week, Grant, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And I got a very special episode when I come back. It's going to be very cool. So I am excited to see you then. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.